Test. All right. Good morning, everybody. So this is the panel. Oftentimes, you will just hear sound bites, and we say the same stuff over and over again about the ecosystem. It ends up being a rant fest. I did tell our esteemed panelists to be very contrarian, very provocative, and make sure that this session is really interesting. The tech industry headed towards 2023. We are already a month in, and we have seen so many interesting narratives come out of the year. I think earlier we all heard about there's going to be a massive recession, and literally in a couple of past weeks, it's now the narrative's changing into a soft landing. Maybe, we're seeing volatility within the BUSD, Binance, the FUD on that whole ecosystem, and also certainly of note, especially in Thailand, Deloitte releasing a report, scathing as it may be, very true about the state of early stage venture ecosystem and how there is a seed crunch in Thailand, and just a really interesting feedback loop of why are the greatest founders, and this is an event that hopefully we will prove that report wrong, but one of many early steps. So without further ado, I'd love for our panelists to, within 30 seconds, introduce themselves and tell us more about what you've been working on. So we'll start with the lady, as she came all the way from Singapore. Jamaine, go ahead. Yes. Okay. Green lights on. Mic's
Hi,
working. Thank you.
Works. Yeah. Hi everyone. Thanks, Amarit. So I'm Jamaine and came from Singapore, and I'm currently on the investment team of Altara Ventures. So Altara Ventures is a Southeast Asia focused fund that invests in early stage from PA to Series B and most verticals, including your consumer, health tech, and tech. Yeah. So I look forward to having a meaningful conversation with everyone today.
Awesome. Altara Ventures. Recently you invested in a Property Scout in Thailand. Sarun.
Hi, my name is Sarun. I'm a partner at Invest Ventures. We are an early stage to growth stage venture capital in Thailand, and we solely invest in Thailand. Our focus is in the software SaaS B2B space, and also in some automotive and robotics companies also.
Awesome. All right, Kap, good bit.
Hi, my name is Vin. I come from Vertex Venture, Series A and B focus venture capital fund based out of Singapore. So we have colleagues across the region, including Jakarta, Singapore, Bangalore, and Bangkok. So we invest across Southeast Asia and India. One of our most investment is also in happens to be in climate tech as well, which is a fair at most in Indonesia. But looking forward to seeing the startup today.
Yeah, exactly. And Ben, another OG in the ecosystem. All these are VCs you definitely want to talk to right after this. So, first round, let's start with Thailand. Are you all optimistic, pessimistic, neutral about the state of the tech ecosystem? Who's positive? Okay, being very politically correct. Very mad. Okay. Let's dig into that, Kapin Saran. Let's start with you, because you are, definitely representing and have connected with most VCs in Thailand at the association.
Yeah. So my view, I think tech investment in Thailand, the easiest way to view it is to view it from different stages of investment, right? And when I say neutral, it's because in certain stages, I'm quite negative. And in certain stages, I'm quite positive, quite upbeat about the outlook of Thailand, especially in the Series B and Series C, because I think the Series B and Series C in Thailand has been growing strongly for the past 4 or 5 years now. You take a look at the growth rate of investment in Thailand so far, majority, almost all of it, has been delivered by the growth of the Series B and Series C and beyond startups. Now, the part where I'm quite negative or have a negative outlook about is actually what Kun Aim has mentioned already in the Deloitte report, that Thailand is actually now facing, well, a lot of countries around Thailand, they face like maybe Series A to B crunch, but Thailand is actually facing the Series C to Series A's crunch. By that, what I mean is there are not enough investment in the seed stage in Thailand. For the future, possible investment in the Series A and B and C and beyond. So my outlook in the first couple of years from now is the overall investment in Thailand is going to go up. It's going to go up by amount, but my main concern is from 5 or 6 years from now, if nothing's changed, then we may face some real problem in terms of total investment in the Thai startup ecosystem.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of that. A lot of challenging down rounds, a lot of companies not being able to IPO. But you are still here, Jamaine, and obviously Vertex could win as well. For folks looking into Thailand from a regional perspective, why are you still here?
I think we may not be like as exciting as our neighbors, say Vietnam or Indonesia, but we still, we have been starting since like 2012, if I remember, but we have made a lot of progress since then. And we will continue to develop ecosystem at our own pace and build our own unique story, right? Even though we don't have like a lot of investment activities compared to our neighbors, Thailand still poses one of an exciting market, even from the regional perspective, right? For example, even though a lot of investors are highly concentrated in the Series A and B, as Sarun mentioned, we have some more work to do on the C stage as well as after the B round. But looking on the exit part, right, Thailand also has a lot of interesting exit opportunities. For example, looking at the public market, stock exchange in Thailand actually is one of the most vibrant in the region, and there's still a high public appreciation in the high growth and profitable companies. So IPO in Thailand is probably one of the strengths we can build on as the ecosystem continues to grow.
I agree with you.
I definitely agree. Even from a regional perspective, even though a lot of VCs have been more active in Indonesia and Vietnam, I think Thailand itself holds a lot of potential. They might not have as big as a population as Indonesia, but purchasing power and I think there is still room for a technological disruption as opposed to other regional countries as well. And I think like what other panelists mentioned, right? In other countries, we see more contraction in terms of Series B, Series C stage investments, whereas in Thailand itself, I think pre-seed or seed funding is still lacking. And I think if, different stakeholders come together to build this ecosystem, I think there's a lot of potential for this space to grow.
Awesome. I think that's a perfect segue. Next question. Geo-specific strategies, especially Thailand, there's still the money to be made. There's still great founders and opportunities. Now, I guess we have in the crowd folks flying in from Singapore, Philippines, a lot of investors. I'm sure you're co-investing, you're looking at a lot of deals together. What is your thought on investing and making, making the case, making success in sourcing deals here in Thailand? Your thoughts? Any tips for newbies coming into this, challenging but also at the same time exciting market?
I guess I'll go first since it's Thailand. So I can share my perspective on the investment in the seed stage because that's where our specialty lies. I cannot share much beyond like Series A and B and C because that's not what we do. But generally for when we invest in the startup, so a lot of people see when we invest, but what they don't see is actually the pre-work that we had to do before the investment in the startup. So a lot of companies that before we invest, we actually work with the founders for years just to get to invest in the seed stage, right? Because to be honest, like Thailand right now, the ecosystem for the tech investment is quite young. We're still quite new to the whole tech space team. So a lot of new founders that we work with, they have to learn many things before we actually can deploy the money into the funds. But it's actually worked out quite well for us because during the time that we work with the founders without investment, just work with them side by side, we get to learn their management styles, we get to learn their way of thinking, and we get to learn whether we can actually work with these guys after we make the investment. And also we know what their strengths are. From the work closely with them, we know what their weakness would be, and we have also, after we know those facts, then we know what we have to tailor in terms of fund operations to help those founders grow into the Series A and Series B and beyond. So generally what we do to source these deals is a lot of our deals come from referral cases from our networks. And generally when they refer to us, it will be, internally we call these 4-man army. Generally a company with around 4 or 5 people, and we get to meet the founders, see their vision, see what they want to do, and see what actually lacking, and see how we can work with them at least like 6 months before we even think about, even before we consider deploying our money into those companies.
It's great insights. Yeah, a lot of legwork. As an angel investor myself, takes a lot of effort. It's a team effort, really, to get everybody over the line. But hopefully, some of you will secure some funding in this hall today. So, going on a little later stage, I think Altara and Vertex are really gonna be cherry picking from a lot of the groundwork that's been done by Sarun. So, any tips for investors out there that are looking to partner up or be an established force here in Thailand?
Okay. I completely agree with what Sarun mentioned. So probably 2 points I would like to say. Like, one thing is what Sarun has mentioned. Even though like we have a lot of like investor waiting at Series A stage, but at the end of the day, if everybody is sitting, back at the room and waiting for startup to knock the door, the ecosystem is still very nascent compared to a lot of other markets. So a lot of groundwork has to be done. A lot of Series A deal actually happen after investors have started the working relationship with the startup since before the Series A. So this is a lot. This is very common actually, but rarely spoken about. That a lot of investors have spent a lot of time working with the founder since the seed or pre-A round, and that's how you actually secure a strong Series A round in the right company. Second point is probably a bit more unique in Thailand compared to other markets. Is we still have a very small pool of investors. So while in other markets, investors may have to compete in building relationship mostly with the founders to source the right deal, here actually it's also wise to build that working relationship among your peer investors, given that the ecosystem is still small and a lot of say regional funds, right? They don't have a staff on ground. So it's really crucial that you have a good relationship with the local investors in order to actually have a strong co-investment opportunity in the Thailand market.
Perfect. Is that what you're doing right now, Jamaine?
Yep, I think likewise. I think for Altara, we don't actually have a team in Thailand itself, so we rely a lot on partners or like angel investors who are trying to raise follow-on rounds for their own portfolio, referring them to us. And I think at Series A, Series B, we also do work a lot with Series Cs here to see what they're looking at. Is there any way we can partner up where they can provide a little bit more local expertise? And at Altara, we are able to provide a bit more regional network that would aid them in future regional expansion as well.
Sounds good. All right, before I open the floor up for some questions, I'd like to ask all of you, which sectors are you most excited for and why? One answer each. And we'll start with anybody who's ready.
I'll go with me. That's first is easiest on this question. So for Thailand itself, what I'm excited about the most is actually the agricultural technologies space. I mean, it's one of the space where Thailand itself has a really unique positioning against any other countries around the world. There are some challenges that a lot of people have been facing, and this is still a challenge because the agricultural ecosystem in Thailand is very fragmented. It's huge. It's a huge market, billions, trillions of dollar market. But the market itself is quite fragmented. So any startup who can actually conquer that market will be one of the very rare unicorns in Thailand, in my opinion.
Yes, I was just talking to our former Bangkok governor. He's very excited on that space as well. So definitely some deals to be made. Next up, who would like to go?
Sure. I actually also think it's not just about pure play software company in Thailand. So there's a lot of like good company with good foundation out there that actually plays in the convergence area between offline and online play. That's also one area that some investor might be keen to look at and spend some more time with, rather than just investing solely in, say, SaaS or platform play. Yeah.
Yes, I think we still love the SaaS plus services. Let somebody deal with our problems here in Thailand.
Yeah, I think at Altara as well, we are also looking at more into travel tech startups with, travel rebounding in Thailand being a hot destination for travel and also a little bit of medical tourism. So hopefully we'll see more innovative business models there as well.
Awesome. I saw Sheiji in the crowd, HD tourism, medical tourism, and there's Location Nation, travel tech at the back. Now, what about the sectors, if you had advice for founders out there and prospective designers, like which ideas or sectors should you not work on? Maybe just kind of out of fashion for this year. Like, any tips?
I mean, generally that's a question we try not to answer because
you usually get it wrong. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, but I mean, a general advice I can speak on for Kun Vin and Jamaine also is generally just don't follow the trend, especially the trends being too old, because I noticed a lot of founders, especially new founders who enter the space, they would have a simple idea of doing a platform, and a lot of, there are some options for platform, but not all things need to become platform or need to become marketplace. So see, that's like things from like 6-7 years ago. So that's a general advice I would give. Just don't follow the trend and do that.
Yep, great advice. Marketplaces is voted the hardest business model to execute. So, or I don't know, maybe Web3 too. At least this year, challenging.
It's unlikely you find something new in a space that you has been diving around for 6-7 years.
Okay, well, definitely tomorrow a lot of people will disagree with you on the Web3 side, but we still have a lot of believers, but that is good. I like strong opinions. Any strong opinions? What to try to avoid or be very careful of?
I think it's less about the sectors, more about the fundamental of the company. So, as a team at our firm, we try to be mindful that we try to not get too excited with what's hot, and also not to get too afraid of what's actually not hot. Cycle comes and go, and it's really natural. If you look at the investment market, there's always things that comes and go. But at the end of the day, it's about the fundamental of the company and whether the company is actually serving the urgent problem statement in a large enough market, and I think importantly whether it is built to last or not. So for us, it's more about the unit economic and also the fundamental of the company.
Yes.
Yep, I definitely agree as well. I think it's a lot on business model and market research. So making sure that you are clear of the needs of the market and coming up with a business model that's sustainable in the long term, that actually shows a path to profitability rather than just burning money for top line growth.
Awesome. Right. Questions from the crowd. We have 10 minutes to go. Any folks would like to ask something? Now is your chance. You've got 3 of the most illustrious VCs in the stage today. All right, let's go.
Thank you so much. Good morning, everybody. My name is Andre. I'm with a startup on the payments. Questions for any of you. What do you think about startups that are headquartered here in Southeast Asia, Singapore, Thailand, but have execution strategy and growth strategy in developed markets where we can get better margins, better profits for our investors? Do you see that as a risk for your capital or opportunity? And general advice for startups like us who are trying to raise funds but deploy those funds in developed markets. Thank you.
Wow, that's a new question. Never heard it before. Go ahead.
Well, if you cut the answer short, honestly, I don't see that as a problem. I think it's a very common space. It's a function of if you're headquartered in Singapore, how's the execution plan overseas? Like, can you execute smoothly when you say headquartered, are all the management like based here, but the execution team like in developed market? So if that's the case, how do you control the execution of the working team itself in those different markets? If that's not a problem, I don't see a big problem about it, because I mean, if I were to structure an investment, I would structure it for in the most tax optimal country or capital, the freest capital flow country. So that's not something I would say is a risk.
I think we have a team in India, and actually that's one of the very uniquely strong thesis of homegrown Indian company. Like a lot of software companies are based out of India, but they are built under the common theme of built in India and then serve the world, which is actually very common thing that's been happening in other markets. So I don't think it's a flag in any way. It's actually encouraged, because most of the companies that are headquartered here, most of the time will meant to be a domestic play, meaning that they only serve the Thai market. And again, as a VC, we have to make sizable return to the investor. So the question is, how big is the market you're serving? So I don't think it's a flag in any way. But things to be careful and to be carefully thought of it is actually on the go-to-market. Once you build that product out of Thailand, then how do you sell to the first, second, and third market? Do you have a strong co-founder who can be a salesperson in the developed market, or what's your plan to actually land that first customer outside of your home base?
All valid points. Any more questions from the audience? There you go. All right.
Hi, thank you. What are the red and the green flags that you look at in terms of investing? So for startups, what are the things they need to promote to capture your capital, and what are some of the red flags that you would reject those?
Did you catch the question? Can you repeat the question a little louder?
I'm interested in what are the, not just the red flags for preventing investments, what are the green flags? What makes you say yes to investments?
Okay. Green flags, red flags. All right.
Yeah, I think maybe starting with green flags, I think given that we invest pretty early stage from pre-A to Series A, we focus a lot on the management team. So the team having the expertise and knowledge in the relevant areas that they are working on, and also I would say a strong complementary team that has different expertise from go-to-market like marketing to technology and to business development. I think that's a huge green flag for us. And in terms of red flag wise, I don't think there is any specific ones. I think it really depends on the market they are targeting and the target segment they are going after, and what sort of business model or go-to-market strategy you formulate from there.
I guess I'll provide some color on that from our perspective also. So just to let you see into our thought process of the investment, right? So generally, it's not a flag, but we use it as a gate. So generally, we have like a couple of cases in mind that we don't pass, then we don't really move on, because it's just to save everybody's time, right? So very first thing is, if you cannot elaborate your market size to be big enough for the VCs, or you cannot elaborate your target market clearly enough for the VCs, you're out. If your team is not cohesive enough or lack enough experience, you're out. If your product of what you're doing, or you cannot define the pain point of the customer correctly, and you cannot elaborate how your product can solve those pain points, well, you're out. So these would be the three things that would be the gatekeeper for us, at least.
I think for the market where we still lack a lot of like early stage investors, and a lot of investors are still waiting later down the road at the Series A. For me, one tip I would give as a helpful thing to keep in mind is, once the investor says no to your company, it's only at that point in time, meaning that it's wise to actually build on the relationship rather than just press for yes or no. A lot of investors may say no at this point and then decide to invest in your company 2 years down the road. So how do you build that positive working relationship rather than being transactional and press on for yes or no? If it's a no, then respectfully ask for some advice or feedback, and then keep the relationship warm, provide some updates to them, and find opportunities to catch up in a productive way. I know a lot of investors who actually don't prefer to invest in a company right away. They want to track the progress for 6 months, a year, and see how the founder and the company has developed. And that's actually one thing a lot of founders didn't give a thought about it, and rather just try to be too transactional. So keep the relationship warm, and then keep them posted on the progress that you have made. Yeah.
Totally great advice. Any questions on the left side? Any from the ladies? Great questions from gentlemen. Then I have to say it took me 5 years to get a partnership with Google, and we just kept going and going, but it's all about really building relationships. Not a lady, but very, very beautiful man.
It is my pleasure to be here, and I have one quick question. So we see the EV Expo out there. So would you guys see yourself EV trend going on in Thailand? And I'm sure you guys have received a lot of IR deck relay with the EV platform, EV infrastructure company, or payment gateway. Is there any typical thing that you guys are interested in? And please share with us. Thank you.
This one, I just kind of short for it. It's not our team.
Right, I like that. Very focused.
I think the outlook here is good because, culturally speaking, Thai people are really concerned about this environmental thing. So if eventually, I think a lot of people would be willing to adopt and push the market, even among the consumers, to reduce the carbon in the market, right? But essentially, there's a lot of infrastructure requirement that's required before the ecosystem can be up and running, and it will be very capital intensive. So we are also observing how startups can come in and play their role in the development of this so-called infrastructure. So obviously they have to collaborate with a lot of larger corporations, but for sure there will be some room for smaller companies to play.
Yeah, I think likewise, we do look pretty actively into the EV market, but we also think that it will take quite a long time before the entire ecosystem will mature from new battery technologies to assembly and even to charging stations and infrastructure. So I think it will be interesting to see how it plays out in Thailand, though, given the strong automotive sector. So.
Yeah, relentless competition requires extreme precision, operations and execution. I've invested in e-tron, and having seen the journey, it is brutal. But all the best, even to VinFast in Vietnam. I think they're also going through some challenging times. But any last questions? We have 2 minutes to go. All right. Okay. While we're waiting for that last question, key takeaways, advice for whether it's investors or founders. What should they take off from this panel that you usually drop, besides dropping the mic?
Look at wisdom, right? If you think about it, whether you do startup or whether you do anything, it's just we're all doing business, right? And the business at the end, it's not about a trend, it's not a fundamental, right? It's about becoming profitable at a certain point in time. And it's not about relying on investors' money, even though I'm speaking on an investor's perspective. You want to be a startup that do not need investors' money, and that's the best way to attract investors' money. So just don't plan yourself whether you need VC fund to survive, you need VC fund to survive. In your head, just think of how do we survive without VC funds? And then what else can we do if we have VC funds? Use that perspective instead.
Beautiful. My wife started an anti-aging clinic, broke even in 4 months. The best thing I love to say when investors shop is we don't need funding. It's beautiful.
I agree that actually the best time to actually raise fund is when you actually don't need it. That's actually, at the end of the day, fundraising is about negotiation, it's about demand and supply, right? So when you walk to investors and actually you don't need the money, that's actually when investors wanted to know more about your company. So I know it's hard to actually achieve growth while not burning too much. It's always a bit of a chicken and egg. But given the recent market climate, it's really helpful to keep this in mind, that how do you actually achieve a so-called capital efficiency, meaning that you achieve the optimal growth without burning too much money, especially when I think we all must agree that this year deployment of investment would not be very active, I would say an investor will for sure take more time to consider each investment carefully. So how do you demonstrate the ability to use the capital efficiently would be very crucial for you to become one of the few companies that are able to raise a fund from investors in this year.
Thank you. Last few thoughts, Jamaine.
Yeah, I think it's pretty similar as well. It's really about understanding what the market needs and looking out for things to fill existing gaps rather than following trends and trying to make a sexy business out of things, right? So I think it's also about being clear of how you want to scale the business and maintaining a path to profitability.
So many nuggets of wisdom today. Building relationships with your investors early, back to the fundamentals, making money, being able to show performance, and then actually knowing what these folks are here to find out more about what you're keen to co-invest with them or what you're building. They will be here for a little bit. We're out of time. Thank you so much for being with us, everybody. Great session.
Thank you.